There's Another Way to Do That, where I teach you how to modify recipes based on my restrictions. For season 2, I'm modifying recipes inspired by my guests. So let's get into it. Chinedu loves shrimp pesto pizza. I've never even heard of shrimp pesto pizza until he told me about it, but he claims it's so flavorful and delicious when it's all cooked together. So we gonna see. I'm going to do a modified version that is a gluten-free and keto-friendly pizza. So let's see how we do. Let's get started. All right. I think I want to go ahead and start with the dough because the dough takes some time. This is a keto-friendly dough right here, and it doesn't have like the rice and the stuff like that. It's made out of almond flour, and that's pretty much it. Almond flour and like cauliflower. Now, I don't usually do cauliflower, but right now it usually gives me a little bit of inflammation, so I don't do it. But I'm going to try it out. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to take an enzyme. And I'm doing a keto version right now because I am watching my sugar, my insulin intake. I'm trying to see what spikes my insulin. So I'm going towards a keto diet temporarily. So that's why we're doing this. All right. Let's see here. I think I would like to go directly off the box because it's just like any other kind of baking situation. If you're baking a cake, cupcakes, brownies, whatever, bread, I always feel like if you're buying the version that you have to make it from scratch, which I'm doing, it's so much better to do it by following the directions on the box. I don't even though I freestyle everything else, this is something I do not freestyle. Now, I have made a chicken pesto pizza. I made that in season 1, so you can check that out. But I've never made shrimp pesto pizza, so I'm actually really curious how it'll turn out. We're just going to we're just going to add this flour in here. Now, it tells me to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I'm not sure why, but we're doing it. Make sure it said a tablespoon, not a teaspoon. I am using the apple cider vinegar. It's raw apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. And whenever something has the mother in it, it's really good for you. I've learned. I've used it for heartburn sometimes or reflux when I am dealing with something that didn't agree with my stomach. And it works really well, actually. Okay, so then we have 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Ooh, I think I kept going with the oil. Oh, it did. This thing is leaking. All right. I don't think that'll kill it. It'll be all right. And then we're going to do 1/3 a cup of water. 1/3 a cup. Okay. Ooh, it smells weird. That doesn't mean anything. Everything smells weird when it's cold to me. So we're just going to mix it until the dough is formed. Oh, yeah. It smells like almonds. That's what it is. Almonds and apple cider vinegar. We're going to see. Yeah, in season 1, I talk about my inflammation with cauliflower and a number of other things, and I'll link you, but of the podcast. So I've been staying away from it because at that time it gave me a lot of inflammation. But I would be curious to see now. I don't, because it was during that time when it was like cauliflower was the fad. So I was completely overdoing it. Just like I've done coconut oil. I've overdone that. Y'all heard about that, me talking about that in the podcast. And so that was another thing I kind of overdid. But I don't think they put a lot in here. I'm just looking at it. It doesn't look like there's a lot, so I think I should be okay. But we're going to see. I'll let you know if it causes anything. All right, this looks pretty formed now. Okay, so we need to check to see if this is going to crumble and break easily. If it does, then we have to add a little bit more olive oil. So let's see. Oh yeah, it feels good to get your hands in it. Oh yeah, that's good. That feels good, like real dough. Okay. The thing about this, I don't think it needs to rise. All right, yeah. So we're just gonna add it to I have a pizza stone. I know some people do not have a pizza stone, but I do have a pizza stone. And so I make my pizzas on my stone. Now, one of the things that I like to do is I like to put a little bit of flour on the stone just so it's really easy for me to move around when I need to. And just so you know, this is tapioca flour. It's not rice or anything like that. So we still on a keto thing. All right. And my rule of thumb, if you can't get under it, then it's going to need a little bit more flour. So I'm just going to, I'm going to preheat the oven for like 350. All right, we're going to make this into a dough, a crust. They talking about if you don't have a pizza stone, I think you can use like a cookie sheet or something. I'm not actually really sure, but you can look that up. Because I am not positive, because I do have a pizza stone. Pizza stones aren't that expensive. So if you like to make pizza, I highly suggest it because it makes the crust come out so much better. Now I do have one of those rollers, so I probably will with this one roll it a little bit. But yeah, because I feel like the texture is good enough. I can roll it and it'll be all right. See? Oh, this is about to be a healthy pizza. I'm gonna season it. Don't worry about it. It'll be really good. I'm just looking at this crust. I'm like, I've never had this crust actually, but that brand, Simple Meal, they're a good brand. So if it's good, I'll let you know. I've had their like other baked goods, and they're always really, really good. Very easy to make. It's not difficult. Okay, so I am going to really make these edges like, you know how you go to a pizza parlor and you see they got the nice little edges. I'm kind of going to make those little edges because when we get the food on here, the rest of the food on here, it'll hold well. And when I'm trying to take it off after we cook it, it'll be very easy. Now, one of the things I like to do before, because they like you to cook the crust before you cook the crust before you put the toppings and stuff on. So right after this, I'm gonna make the shrimp, and then we'll do the pesto. And by the time this is about 15 minutes in, I'll add the rest of the stuff. But I am going to season this dough. Just a light seasoning. I'm gonna do that because I found when you don't, even when it has like some of the other stuff on it, it just doesn't taste as good. I like to do both. We're gonna season this and we're going to put the pesto on top of it. And that'll do the extra seasoning. So I'm gonna do this, and then I'm just gonna add a little bit of garlic. So we have I like having garlic edges. Oh, dang. I'm gonna have to use another glove. Let's do this. I have one hand. And I like to do this. Just go around the crust, add a little garlic powder. If you're someone who likes salt, you can add some salt or get a garlic salt and do it that way. But I definitely have found it's much better when you cook the crust with some sort of herbs or garlic or something. I'm gonna throw just a little thyme. I have some fresh thyme too, but I'm gonna put that on the top, but this is just the bottom one. And I'm going to add some Italian seasoning. I got every herb in it. You'll notice I pretty much use nothing but herbs in my food because if you watch season 1 of the podcast, I can't eat shit. I literally can't. And if I put too many, like I can't do the peppers and stuff like that, all the inflammation city is happening. All right, that looks pretty good. So now we're just going to preheat the oven to 350 and then get to it. I decided I wanted to make a cilantro lime shrimp to go on top of this pizza because I just thought it might bring a nice flavor. Now I've had it sitting in some fresh cilantro, a little bit of parsley, lime juice, and olive oil, and a little bit of garlic powder. But I am going to cut some fresh garlic to throw in it and season it up a bit. So before we head over there, I'm going to chop up a little bit of garlic to season up that shrimp with. Now, I don't want this to cook. I want it to cook all the way, but I don't want it to get like too brown because I am going to put it on top of the pizza when it's done. Fully cooked. We're going to fully cook it before we add it on top of this pizza. But I definitely I don't want it to get rubbery because that's what happens with shrimp. And especially since I've had it in citrus. I'm going to have to wash my hands. Y'all already know. I was trying not to go overboard with the citrus in here. I just wanted it to have that flavor of some fresh thyme as well. It's turning like that orangey color that you all are used to seeing. It's turning orangey because it was already cooking in that citrus. I'm just going to wash my hands. Now, this is not the only thing I'm going to add. I'm going to have the shrimp, and then I'm also going to make some asparagus to go on top of this. I'm going to make a homemade pesto, and I'm going to start with some olive oil. We breaking out the big guns on this one. I'm going to add some fresh basil to my food processor here. I already cut the stems and stuff off. I wiped off my counter. And it's just fresh basil, olive oil. I do fresh lemon juice. And I'm going to hold because these seeds get the flying out. But squeeze some fresh lemon in there. I find that the lemon really helps the consistency. I don't know if there's full truth to that, but this is just my experience because I do make homemade pesto. And I'm doing like a half a lemon. You do not have to do that much lemon. I just want to do that. What I would normally do is do like a minced garlic, but since we doing fresh garlic for this, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit more fresh garlic to blend up in there. And I probably don't really need to cut this that much because it's going in the food processor. So I'll just do it in halves because sometimes the food processor gets jammed. So yeah, let's do that. Throw a little garlic. That's my fridge. Pine nuts. And Himalayan salt. Clearly, I'm doing all this to taste. I ain't measured nothing. Okay. You see how it starts to get that little texture here? It's like a white texture. That texture, I like it. And I think it's easier when we're spreading the pesto on the pizza. All right, I'm gonna do one more again. Oh, I should taste it too. Hold on. But it's not really ready to, it's not fully grind up. Yeah. It needs more salt. I'm gonna put regular salt because sometimes that Himalayan salt don't be enough. And some olive oil. Just a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Yep. I don't usually take my crust out because it'll start cracking and I don't want to mess up my pizza stone, but it wasn't in there that long. So I just let it cool over there and it shouldn't actually be that hot, but I still don't want it touching this surface because it's pretty warm. All right. So now let's make our pizza. This came out really good. See how it spreads almost like you would do tomatoes? It spreads really nicely. Oops. We ain't wasting time. Just that simple seasoning tastes so good. I didn't want to go overboard with the seasoning because I knew I was putting the pesto on. Oh, damn. We putting all that on there. I knew I was putting the pesto on and I didn't want it to overpower, be too many different tastes. And I didn't let it cook too long because, you know, asparagus gets soggy if you cook it for too long. So I let it cook down and then the next 15-20 minutes I'll cook in the oven. Now you'll see there's a lot of olive oil. Most of that's gonna dry up once we put it in the oven. And it'll also help it cook down. All right, we just gonna double, triple check. Shrimp look good. Oops. I didn't want it to be too hot when I add this back in. We'll put this back in the oven for about 15 minutes and then we'll finish it up. Do be careful if you're using a pizza stone because it will crack. I think I've been saying keto. I think I've been saying it wrong this whole time. You can say both. Keto, whatever. If you're doing that diet, then you cannot do this cheese because it has the potato starch, rice starch, it has rice protein. You're completely not doing a thing. But if you can, I do like the Violife Parmesan. Okay, not too bad. The one thing I don't like about cauliflower things is that they break apart very easily. And I feel like this broke apart a little easily. So that's one thing I'll say about that. We're going to add the rest of this pesto on top of this as our cheese. Let's taste it, shall we? I'm going to start. Usually I would use a cutting board under this, but I feel like this is so thin, it's not going to, it's such a different texture. I don't think it'll matter. I've never actually made anything keto. I've never done that. Oh. Okay. It reminds me of like a thin crust pizza. I feel like this is going to fall apart as soon as I put it in my mouth. It smells great though. What was that? This actually tastes good. The dough is good. It's really good. I probably should make some more shrimp. Oh, wow. I'm surprised. Okay, Cinedu. Okay. It's good. Wow. I wouldn't have thought it tastes like this. I'm sure this crust is very good too. It reminds me of like a flatbread. Oh, wow. I'm glad I put the asparagus on it. Very good choice. That pesto is good. I'm gonna like dip. Do like some dipping sauce. Wow. This has been There's Another Way to Do That, which is part of I Can't Eat Shit podcast on YouTube and wherever you stream your podcast. Make sure you try this out. It's really, really delicious. I was surprised too. And check out Chinedu's full podcast episode.